Warren Buffett is one of the most successful investors in history, with a fortune estimated at about $95.9 billion. His investment approach, which emphasizes discipline, value, and patience, has outperformed the market over the long term. While most of us average investors don't have the resources to invest as Warren Buffett does, we can still take advantage of one of his consistent pieces of advice: low-cost index funds. That's why in this video, let's take a look at the top 6 low-cost Fidelity Index Funds you can invest in this 2022. Hey everyone, I'm Fred. Now, as always, make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons below, and let's get to it. Number 6. The Fidelity Zero Total Market Index Fund, or FXAIX. FXAIX buys shares of companies that are part of the Fidelity US Total Investable Market Index. The purpose of this index is to reflect changes in the value of stocks traded in the United States. What makes FXAIX truly unique is that it did something that no other index fund has ever done before. Until now, no index fund had ever had a lower expense ratio than FXAIX. Overall, costs amount to 0%. This equates to a yearly return of 0% on an investment of $10,000. Fidelity likely did this to entice potential new clients to register investment accounts with the company. It has returned an annualized rate of 18.01% since its inception in 2018. And if you had invested $10,000 in 2018, you would now have slightly over $17,600. FXAIX invests in various companies including Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and others. Currently, the fund has roughly 2,662 stocks. Now, some of you may be thinking that there is no cost associated with this particular fund. You can expect a healthy return, and the portfolio is properly diversified. Where would the problem possibly lie? FXAIX, along with the other Fidelity Zero branded index funds, cannot be moved to other brokers, which is a major drawback. Now, let's say you decided you wanted to switch your FXAIX shares from Fidelity to Vanguard. Before you could make the transition, you would need to first completely close down your position by selling all of your FXAIX shares and getting out of the market entirely. The issue is that doing so will inevitably result in a capital gain, which is a taxable occurrence. That is, if your investment yielded a positive return. Capital gains are the earnings from an investment that are subject to taxation. The Internal Revenue Service will seek their money unless they put it in a tax advantage account, such as a Roth IRA or a 401k. Number 5. The Fidelity Total International Index Fund, or FXAIX. This fund follows the stock market performance of the MSCI All-Country World Index, which is designed to reflect the total return of developed and emerging markets around the world. It's safe to say that this fund never puts money into a US-based business. Furthermore, this can be especially useful if you want to diversify your holdings internationally. About 4,825 stocks make up the bulk of this Fidelity Fund's holdings, and its top 10 holdings include shares of Nestle, Alibaba, Samsung, and Toyota. Since the fund's debut in 2016, the average return has been roughly 8.89%, turning $10,000 invested in 2016 into slightly more than $16,000 today. Even though an 8.89% return is quite impressive, it is still a relatively low rate of return. However, the goal of this index fund is not to generate market-beating returns. This index fund has a relatively low expense ratio of 0.06%. So if you invest $10,000, you'll just have to pay $6 annually. As an international index fund, its value can fall sharply in response to any number of factors, including but not limited to changes in the global economy and political instability. Obviously, this may and does occur on the US stock market. Still, it is much more common in international markets, especially those of the emergent variety found in regions with less stable economies. However, this by no means implies that investing in foreign stocks is a terrible plan. This is a smart move if you're a long-term investor looking to expand your portfolio's potential. Number 4. The Fidelity Nasdaq Composite Index Fund, or FNCMX. The Nasdaq Composite Index is the reference for these mutual funds' stock holdings. These index tracks the combined performance of numerous Nasdaq-listed companies in the United States. It's no big surprise that the Nasdaq 100 has beaten the S&P 500 during the past 15 years. This is mainly because the fund's top holdings companies like Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and Google account for about 50% of the index, out of a total of 3,264 equities. Because of that, some people say the fund isn't well diversified. Of course, you may also combine this fund with some of the other total market funds if you're more concerned about diversification. These index funds' average return over the past decade is 20.76%. An initial investment of $10,000 made into this fund in 2012 would be worth over $66,000. Unfortunately, these funds' higher expense ratio of 0.29% comes hand in hand with its better returns. This means that if you invest $10,000, you may anticipate paying $29 annually. QQQM ETF, the Invesco Nasdaq 100 ETF, is a good choice if you want exposure to the Nasdaq index without paying the high expense ratio that other Nasdaq index ETFs have. Plus, its expense ratio is only 0.15%, or almost half that of the index fund. Now, before we continue, I want you to think about trying our Super Thanks, wherein your comments will be highlighted, or you could also join our membership program. After doing that, let's now continue with number 3. The Fidelity Zero Large Cap Index Fund, or FNILX. This fund purchases shares of firms that make up the Fidelity US Large Cap Index, which aims to replicate the total performance of US large cap companies. Now, to qualify as a large cap, a company's market cap must be greater than $10 billion. Companies with a large market capitalization have typically been in business for a long time and have a track record of providing customers with high-quality products and services. If you look at the top holdings among the fund's 516 stocks, you'll undoubtedly be familiar with them and presumably make daily use of many of their products and services. This is also why this index fund has been so successful. Since its launch in 2018, it has delivered an annualized return of an average of 18.56%. This means that $10,000 invested in 2018 would now be worth more than $17,500. In particular, this index fund's lack of diversification is a major drawback. This index fund is low cost as it is a part of Fidelity's family of no transaction fee products. That means your annual cost on a $10,000 investment would be $0. Number 2. The Fidelity 500 Index Fund, or FXAIX. This index fund primarily holds equities from the S&P 500, which represents 500 of the largest publicly traded firms in the United States. There are now 508 equities held by FXAIX, with the largest positions held by Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and the other 500 largest firms in the United States. If you had invested $10,000 in this fund in 2012, you would have nearly $46,000 now. thanks to the fund's average annual return of roughly 16.54% over the past 10 years. Although it is not technically free, this Fidelity Index Fund performs similarly to those that are. This index fund has a very low cost ratio of 0.015%. This Fidelity Index Fund may be your best bet in the long run. You can go with either this one or FXAIX, depending on whether you're looking for broad market exposure or exposure to the S&P 500. Since the fund only purchases equities from the S&P 500 index, you will not be exposed to small cap stocks. Number 1. The Fidelity Total Market Index Fund, or FXAIX. This fund's holdings are drawn from the stocks that comprise the Dow Jones U.S. Total Stock Market Index. This index was created to reflect the overall return of many stocks listed on the U.S. stock market. This index fund is similar to FXAIX with one key difference. But if you ever change your mind about working with that particular broker, FXAIX can be moved to another one unlike FXAIX. Say for instance, you were considering changing from Fidelity to Vanguard. Even though FXAIX is a Fidelity Index Fund, investors who now hold FXAIX can easily convert their holdings to Vanguard. There are now 3,875 stocks in this portfolio, with significant positions in Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and others. The portfolio has returned 16.25% annually over the previous decade, turning $10,000 invested in a fund a decade ago into just over $45,000. Furthermore, the expense ratio of this index fund is exceptionally low, coming in at only 0.015%. This means the annual cost of investing $10,000 will be $1.50. So, which of these 6 low-cost index funds are you looking to invest in this year? Make sure to let me know in the comments section below. And while you're at it, make sure to smash the like and subscribe buttons as well. Now, Fidelity is just one investment company. So, if you're looking for a different one, you can look at our list of Vanguard Index Funds. Just click this video right here and see you there. And that's it guys, thanks for watching and see you next time.